Fantasy Rap
with Austin and Ozzy.
Oh, I just love those boys.
Hey everyone, this is Fantasy Rap, and I'm your host Ozzy.
And I'm your co-host Austin.
You can find us on fantasyrap.com. That is fantasywrap.com. Okay. Hey everybody, welcome to the follow-up to Week 8. Interesting, actually, a lot of good games.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of big upsets.
Mm-hmm.
How Baltimore lost, how who did New England beat?
The Jets.
The Jets.
Yeah.
There was another game that I couldn't believe went the way it did. But
Green Bay eking out another last-second field goal against Jacksonville.
Yeah.
That one was stressful.
It was. It was. So let's go through how we did. How'd you do this week?
I went 2-1.
Very nice.
Won in both the Dynasty leagues and then lost in the Yahoo League to Isaac. That one was just, Jaden Daniels going into that game, and I'm like, oh, if he takes one good hit, he's out, you know, kind of thing. And
he ran how many different times?
Yeah, I know.
And put some juke moves on, and then at the end of the game, he throws the ball was in the air for 65-ish yards.
Yeah. Yeah, and then to get tipped and fall into Noah Brown's arms.
I'm sitting there. I was just about ready to send a text to my buddy Phil, and it was going to be yes. You guys. You didn't play well in the first three quarters.
Yeah, they didn't deserve to win that game.
No, they didn't. Yeah. and Phil agrees.
Yeah.
But it was one of those. If you hang around, it's like the Packers.
Yep.
If you let the teams hang around, they're gonna come back and possibly take the lead or win the game.
Yep.
And we kept on, the Packers kept on getting down to the 5-yard line or so, and we kick a field goal.
Yep.
We couldn't score the touchdowns. And it actually similarly happened last night, but it didn't turn out that way because the punt return for a touchdown. But I mean, it was 9-9 at halftime.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking
6 field goals in the first half or whatever it was. Yeah.
And I'm thinking this is going to be way too close. So I actually went 2-1. Also, I took care of beating Isaac for you.
Thank you.
In
the other league.
In the other league. In the Dynasty League, where I'm 7-1, lost last week with the second high score to the team that's 8-0, and it's funny because we go 8-0, 7-1, 4-4, 4-4, 4-4, 4-4.
Yeah, I'm one of those.
Yeah. I mean, there's a group of you there with Isaac and you and two other teams that are
last one into playoffs as it stands right now.
Is it?
So yeah.
Yeah. So do we take all 6? Do we take 6 or 4?
Yeah, we think.
We take 4.
Do you guys take 4 or 6? Because I know in my other Dynasty League.
No, because you don't.
4.
No, because you had to. Remember, you had to win in the losers bracket. You have to win to get to the championship, where you have to lose to get the first draft or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are. I think it's. Or wait, do we have 10 teams?
I don't remember.
We have 10 teams. That's right. We have 10 teams. So it's the top 6 and the bottom 4.
Yeah.
I won in the league that I've been in for 32 years. Went to 7-1 there. Second highest score. Cook went off for me.
Yep.
The Pittsburgh defense and Neighbors had a good game.
Yeah.
I mean, a decent game.
Yeah.
In a non-PPR, it was still a decent game. And I lost by 1 point in the league one of the 2 leagues that I won last year, where I outscored everybody by, like 600 points on the season. I'm struggling.
Yeah.
I'm 4-4. I mean, I'm in the playoffs, but I'm 4-4.
Yeah.
That's horrible. Not
Easy now.
it's horrible
It's like
for me
4-4 in
because
2 different leagues. So.
yeah, it's in this one 4-4 feels like I don't know. It's not a good feeling.
Yep.
So moving on to our injuries. Jordan Love, day-to-day groin.
Yeah, I looked today, I think, and
Checked out his groin?
doubtful. Yep, checked it out.
Okay.
Yep, gave it a real good once over. But the report sounds like doubtful for this coming week, which against the Lions, you'd like to have him out there, healthy, obviously, but
Right.
So
I mean,
we'll
Malik Willis
see.
is 3-0 in games that he's played in.
That's true. I mean, and smart coaching staff there. They'll scheme up, some good stuff for him. And like I said, Willis has looked really good when he has been in. So
he has.
Obviously, again, you still want Jordan Love, but we could be in a worse position, I guess.
We could. I mean, we could have Sean Clifford or
Yeah.
Pratt,
Pratt sounds right. Yeah.
Michael Pratt. I don't even remember. Drafted him this past
Yeah.
year, and we didn't keep him.
Yep.
So, I mean, hopefully he doesn't miss more than a week.
Yeah.
Apparently, they escaped a tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been a lot worse. Next up, we've got Stephon Diggs, knee. I have him listed as unknown. He's actually out for the season.
Yep. ACL.
Tore his ACL. So it's going to be an interesting. I mean, CJ last year looked tremendous.
Mm-hmm.
CJ this year has not looked tremendous, even with the addition of Stephon Diggs. Now he's got no Nico, no Stephon.
Yep. Yeah. This week's going to be pretty rough for Houston because I think they're playing the Jets. So
And the Jets defense has not been
Yeah.
playing very well.
But Sauce is going to cover Tank, and so it's going to be a Joe Mixon game again.
Well,
Yeah.
but, maybe we're going to see something out of Dalton Schultz.
I doubt it.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, he had 50-some yards receiving this past week,
Yeah.
which wasn't horrible.
I don't think he's going to do enough to move the needle, I guess, to help them out there. But yeah, I mean, that was
I'm
the thing with
looking to
Stroud.
pick someone up. So
Yeah, that was the thing with Stroud. Last year was against bottom half of the league defenses was otherworldly great, but then against tougher defenses, was pedestrian. He was
Right.
average. So, kind of seeing some more of the same this season. Obviously, losing Nico hurts, but I think Nico, it sounds like he's eyeing next week. So that'll be a huge boost.
That will.
Obviously. So,
I'm looking forward to having him back on my league that I'm 4-4 now.
Yeah, might get you to 5-4, 6-4. Hopefully by then.
I actually get to play one of the first place teams this week, and I'm projected to win by like 20.
Yeah,
I'll probably lose.
yeah. That's how it goes.
Next up, we've got the triumvirate of Jacksonville wide receivers.
Yep.
Christian Kirk out for the season with a broken collarbone.
Yep.
Brian Thomas day-to-day with a chest contusion.
Mm-hmm.
And Gabe Davis, unknown how long he'll be out with a shoulder injury.
Yeah. Congratulations if you have Evan Ingram.
Yeah, well, he's going to draw some better coverage, though.
Yeah, I mean, best case, Brian Thomas can play.
I think
they
there's
were
a good chance
they
he
did
will.
some MRIs just to make sure there weren't any fractures or anything
Right.
like that. So, yeah, if he can play, I mean, he's been really, really good.
Yeah.
So he should be
Yeah,
in line.
we were talking about that in our dynasty that you and I are in. Someone mentioned that as far as non-quarterbacks go, he's the top player
Yeah.
from this year's draft, and he was picked
Yeah.
at number 10
Yeah.
by me.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, again, I got
Well-
Harrison in that one at 3, and
Yeah.
he's been up and down. Obviously, had an up week. So rookies, they start to really kind of catch their stride second half of the season. But
Well, and some of them don't catch their
Yeah.
stride because they've never played this many games.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you get to games 12 and 13 and 14,
yeah,
and you're thinking, oh my, well, it's kind of like Anthony Richardson. It's time to take a play off.
Oh yeah, which he got benched for, and it's Joe
now
Flacco this week.
now Flacco's playing. yeah. Hey, and it's funny because I watch these. If you watch a football game, you watch receivers checking in and out.
Yeah, I think it was it last week we were one of the shows episodes we were talking about that.
Yeah, very possibly. And defenders never
take a deep shot. It's a 50-yard deep shot, and the next play, whether they catch it or not, they're on the sideline taking a breather.
But the defender still has to cover it.
Yeah,
and they, the defensive backs almost. I mean, you almost never see them come in and out.
Yeah,
unless they're doing something with a safety
with personnel.
Right, but to go. Gosh, I'm going to sit this one out, Coach.
And it was like
you're going to what?
And it was like 3rd and goal when he did that too. I was like, oh, wow, all right.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, I've seen the running backs raise their hand or a tight end say, I'm a little dinged up.
Yeah.
But I'm gassed.
Yeah.
I'm a little winded.
Tired.
I'm tired. You got to either have to get in better shape.
Horrible.
Yeah.
Overall, I mean, he has a couple big shots here and there, but he's been really bad.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
But yeah.
So if you haven't, like you said, if you have any of those three of the two, you're in a bad place for a while. Next, we've got Julian Hill, day-to-day with a shoulder injury.
Cool. No idea.
Yeah, tight end for Miami.
Cool.
Yeah,
no idea.
That's why I wrote that down. Tight end, Miami. Yeah, I'm sitting there going, who is he? So I don't think that's a huge loss to them, but I don't know that.
No.
I mean, it might, it's kind of like that guy that we had last year. Who was it for Cincinnati that I always kept on joking about? We always put him on the waiver wire, and I think you actually picked him up. And because he was getting
Tanner Hudson, their tight end.
Yeah,
Hudson. Yeah, I picked him up in the dynamite. Though I think maybe in our dynasty.
Yeah, could be
on my bench. But
it's like he kept on playing well. He kept on playing well, and he was their third stringer.
Yeah,
but he kept on playing well. So maybe this Julian Hill, maybe he's a guy.
Yeah.
Next up, we've got Drake May, concussion in the protocol.
Yeah. I mean, they ended up beating the Jets. I don't know how, because, I mean, you look at, like, Ramondre Stevenson had a very good fantasy game. But he had, like, 23 carries for, like, I don't even think he got 50 yards.
Wow.
But he had 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So, that was an ugly game.
Well, they said something about scoring over 20 points, having 2 passing touchdowns. They had put together this group of like 3 things that occurred, and they said that, and it was for the Jets, and it said that it was like 746 to 1.
Oh yeah, that was the one where it was like hold your opponent under X amount of offensive yards and points, and you're basically all time guaranteed to win.
Yeah, they're the only loss.
Yeah.
And I sat there and I went, okay, how did you do that?
Yeah.
But they,
Jets,
they're
cursed.
and brother-in-law of mine is a huge Jets fan, and I feel for him because and I told him when he got Rodgers from the Packers, I said, temper your expectations. I said the guy is a complete head case, and who knows what you're getting
off the Achilles. Yeah. So
well, and he had gone down. He had 21 and 22. No, 20 and 21 were his MVP years, and then 22 he went downhill. He didn't play well for us. I think we just barely made the playoffs, or we didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Maybe we were 7 and 9 or something, and then all of a sudden he gets traded and he gets injured, and his numbers in 24 are similar to what he was in 22 when he wasn't a very good quarterback. I mean, his quarterback rating was like in the 80s or low 90s.
I think they're basically mirroring when they had who's their quarterback before Rodgers, the the BYU. Why can't I think of it?
Taysom Hill?
No. Their starter. Who's their starter?
Before Rodgers.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean out in Zach Wilson?
Yes, Zach Wilson.
I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about the Packers.
No.
I'm like,
in New York, they had Zach Wilson.
Yes.
They're basically it's the same record, almost identical stats right now too.
Yeah.
So it's like
but hey,
But it's Aaron Rodgers.
thank you,
Yes.
thank you, Green Bay fans all around the country. Thank you
Yes.
for making that trade. Next up, we've got Chris Olave. He got his head hit, went out, was checked, and was allowed back in.
Which is a good sign because he's been one of those guys that's had.
Well, he was just out with one.
Yeah, he just had the concussion. I think it was last year. He had one of those, ugly to watch ones where you get the spasms and everything. So it's good that he was able to come back in and you get Derek Carr coming back. Was Carr back this week or is he back next week? I think
No. Not this coming week because they're talking about Jake Haener being the starter this week.
Well,
because Spencer Rattler wasn't good, so
Yeah.
they replaced him with Jake Haener, and apparently Jake Haener is going to get a start.
Okay.
Is what I had heard. So maybe I should add Jake Haener to the waiver wire.
Sure.
I'm kidding.
So, Olave, he's actually been pretty consistent this season, minus missing the game, with the concussion, or the 2 games, because I think he got pretty early in that first game. So, missing 2 games with that, he's been actually pretty consistent. Hasn't been amazing, but, you lose Derek Carr.
Good numbers this past week.
Yeah, you lose Derek Carr, and
Yeah.
so when Carr comes back without having Shaheed there too, I think Olave is gonna he'll help your team get hot at the right time. So
Right. Next up, we've got Kendre Miller. He has a hamstring injury, unknown how long he'll be out. He struggles to stay on the field.
Yeah, you don't want to. There's supposedly really nothing. There's no actual injury prone, but if anybody's injury prone, it's this guy because he cannot stay on the field. And he had a couple of runs where he looked really, really good. And before the Saints extended Kamara to the 2 years, which they did a couple weeks ago,
Right.
You're thinking Miller was going to be the guy.
Yeah.
But that's probably why they ended up extending Kamara, is because he can't stay on the field. So
Right.
That one sucks.
Yep.
But
Next up, we've got Jordan Mason, shoulder. I think it was the same shoulder he injured, and they thought that he could have come back in the game had they needed him. And again, I left Isaac Guerendo off, and Isaac Guerendo on the waiver wire. We had him last week, and he's. It's hard to tell how long before CMC is back.
yeah, I think
so.
I think
Neither
it's
of them
gonna be
holds.
Yeah, I think if you need a 1 week rental, if
Right.
Mason is out, get Guerendo, because I think they're going into bye after this week.
Right.
So it sounds like they're going to open up.
Yeah,
the
they're
window
telling.
for CMC after the bye, so that he can, or
I thought they were
Or they
opening it. They told him to really start ramping up stuff
Okay.
this week apparently.
well, it's a 21-day window, so I guess
Right.
it doesn't really matter exactly when they
Right.
open it. But yeah, so like I said, I think if you need a 1 week, rental, if Mason misses, I think Guerendo. I don't even know who they're playing, but any running back in the Shanahan system seems to do well. So
Yeah, I don't remember who they're playing. Next up, we've got Debo, ribs, unknown how long he might be out. I don't know. When did he? Do you know when he left during the game?
I don't know.
Okay.
I didn't watch any of that game.
Okay, so they're already down to Kittle
Kittle's going to keep
and
being a monster.
Yeah, and Kittle, like I said, Kittle beat me in my one league, and I was going to win.
Yep.
And then Kittle played. So it is what it is. Sterling Shepard is next on our list with a hamstring injury, unknown how long he'll be out.
Yeah. Is he still on the Giants? Or did he?
I don't recall. I watched the
can't
game
remember.
last night, but was
Can't remember if Shepard is on the Giants or if he was the Giants receiver that went to Tampa.
I don't
Yeah,
recall. I
but-
really don't recall.
again, really no bearing, it
Yep.
seems like. So
So we're going to move on to our studs, and I am going to make one comment, which is CBS Sportsline obviously knows what they're talking about. He didn't make the studs,
Yep.
but he was the second highest scoring player in fantasy football in our league this week, and that was Bo Nix.
Yeah. And they had him at, what, 4 in that list?
No, I think
Maybe it
I
was
think he was
5.
sixth. I think he was the sixth,
And yeah, for the starters.
and he balled.
Yeah,
I
got
mean
it
he
done.
really did.
Yeah.
So here are the actual studs. I mean he played great, but
Yeah.
they predicted to hit so high that
Yep.
he didn't add that much value over what they were predicting.
Yep.
So our studs, we started with Cedric Tillman plus 19.4, 7 of 9, 99 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I am tempted, we talked about it last week, and I joked that I might have to pull him off my
Your
taxi squad. I'm still thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be Jameis rest of season,
Right.
unless Jameis, hopefully knock on wood for the Browns, but, if he doesn't get injured or doesn't, completely nosedive and just play like crap,
Right.
I mean, Jameis just boosts that whole offense because, he's going to throw it 50 times a game.
Right.
And they're still ramping Chubb, back in and trying to get him up to speed. And, Tillman, yeah, and he's, he had some of the buzz coming into the year, along with Amari, and then obviously they brought in Jerry Jeudy, but I'm still not sold on Jerry Jeudy even with and Jeudy had a decent
He did.
had a decent game too, but I think
Yeah, he was actually leading the team in receptions and yards early on, and then Cedric Tillman.
yeah. So
Pulled
and
up and
I think
pulled up.
Yeah. I think Tillman fits Jameis's F it, somebody's down there.
Yep,
A
yep.
little better than Jerry Jeudy does.
Yep.
So
Next up, we've got Lad McConkey, plus 17.39, 6 catches on 6 targets. That is not the right number.
probably 100.
Maybe 100 and some yards and 2 touchdowns. I think it was 115,
Yeah,
but I
something
don't
like
recall. Again, I mean, can he keep it up?
Yeah, they've been struggling to find anybody to help them move the ball through the air, and their run game since Gus Edwards has gotten hurt. Dobbins has not been great like he was.
Gus Edwards got hurt?
Yeah,
I didn't
the
know.
bus. But so maybe something changed. Is changing here. McConkey's he's a good wide receiver.
He has got
Coming on to
good
Georgia.
hands.
Was a lot overshadowed by Brock Bowers, obviously. Playing at Georgia, and that was kind of the knock, is that you hadn't seen a whole lot of McConkey
Right.
in college. But funny story. Brittany from the Thursday night game, we're sitting on the couch, and Cooper Kupp catches that touchdown, and I go, "Oh, hey, Cooper Kupp touchdown!" And she's like, "Okay," and I'm like, "You started him, right?" She goes, "Uh-oh." And looks at her team, and there's Cooper Kupp on her bench.
But she had Lad McConkey.
Was in her starting lineup. So it ended up working out. Yeah, because that's who I would have told her to swap out, for Cooper Kupp, because she had Amari Cooper, who, he's on our duds, but, you wouldn't have expected the game that he had. But, so it ended up working out very nicely for her.
Ooh, lucky. Next up, we've got, Nick. Tyrone Tracy, plus 15.6. He had 2 catches on 3 targets for 5 yards. He had 20 rushes, 145 yards, and a touchdown.
Mm-hmm. Left the game towards the end, though. I think he was banged up a little bit.
Yeah.
Well,
and they're easing Singletary back now.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling that Tyrone Tracy's run might be partially or completely over.
Well, Tracy had the big week with Singletary out, and then Singletary was back the next week, and both of them were not very good. So
Last week when they got crushed?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, yes. But, it seems like Tracy does better when Singletary's not very involved. If he seems like he's one of those volume backs that you just have, like I said, he had 23 or 22 touches, had the 3 targets. But, yeah, he just seems like a guy you just gotta just let him,
Yeah.
just hand the ball off and let him go, kind of thing. So
Yeah, well, I'm hoping that it's actually a Singletary week because I've got Najee Harris on bye, so
yeah.
I'll be playing Singletary. So
Yikes.
next up, we've got Kyle Pitts plus 15.19, 4 catches on 5 targets, 91 yards, 2 touchdowns. His first 2 touchdown game of his career.
Yeah, it was a 40-yard plus for one of them. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't watch the game either, but Pitts has been a little up and down, but overall, compared to last year, been pretty consistent.
Oh, yeah.
So if you ended up, if you did take the shot on Pitts this year, I mean, you probably still didn't have to pay a whole lot in the draft for him. But
Right.
If you took a shot and said that's my guy, and you've been fairly happy, and obviously this week you've been very happy.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. Next up, we've got James Cook plus 15.1. 3 catches, 3 targets, 22 yards, 17 rushes, 111 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Helped win me a game.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, to tell you the truth, that's what I kind of expect out of him.
Yeah.
I mean, lately...
You would think it would be every week, but it's not.
No, but it's a lot of them.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been one of the most, he's been a good producer at the running back position.
Yeah.
Not as good as your Derrick Henrys and Joe Mixons and that, but still a quality point total most weeks out of him. So nothing to complain about.
Nope.
Next up, we've got our duds. First one is Jordan Love, minus 13.31, 14 of 22, 196 yards and an interception, 1 rush for minus 1 yard, injured.
Yep.
So, it's hard to say what the numbers might have looked like.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, his pick was another one that you just were like, what, towards the sideline there,
Well, it was. I have to say that the defensive back made a phenomenal play on that.
Yeah.
It was in the right spot. It's just that as soon as our receiver started making the break, so did the defender.
Yeah.
And the defender just barely got in front of him. I mean, kudos to that guy. I mean, that was a great play in my mind.
So,
but I don't see Jordan Love staying on the duds list.
No, especially like I said, if he takes a week off and hopefully
has his groin checked out by you again.
Yep. I will gladly do it for the team.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah. So.
Next, we've got Jordan Mason minus 9.5, and I did not write down his stats.
Well, the injury and like I said, I don't remember exactly when it was in the game, but I mean,
Isaac Guerrero
really,
looked good, and it was it was toward the end of the game when Guerrero was breaking off some big runs. So I'm guessing it was after halftime.
Yeah,
but I'm not positive on that. Didn't get a chance to see that game.
Yeah, like we said, Mason with CMC seemingly coming back week 10, or week 11. Sorry, because they're going on.
Week 11.
Yeah, so week 11. If Mason doesn't go this week, then they get the bye and then you get CMC back. I mean, Mason should still be on a roster. I think he'll still be involved when CMC's back because they're not going to want to overwork him. But just one of those games. You get that AC joint and re-aggravate that. That's not a fun injury to try and play through, especially as running back when that's, you're taking collisions to that
taking
over and over.
And you're probably dishing some out to try and get the yardage. So next up, we've got Kenneth Walker minus 9.3, 4 catches, 5 targets, 33 yards, 6 rushes, 18 yards.
Yeah, Seattle needs DK Metcalf on the field, huh?
He does.
Yeah.
They do. Yeah, I could use
up the
DK
field.
Metcalf back.
Same. But yeah, so I think like I said, just a result of not having DK out there. People picked up Tyler Lockett, or if they had Tyler Lockett, played him, and they were disappointed with him. It's just
and in our dynasty. In our Superflex, in our running back, wide receiver, tight end, flex position, who am I playing? Tucker Kraft.
Yeah.
I actually played a tight end. You looked at my bench, and everyone was either on bye or injured or what have you, because Metcalf was out, so I had to have someone come in, and I had Pitts in the tight end. Yeah. Luckily, Metcalf was out because I might have chosen the wrong tight end.
Yeah. I think in my other dynasty league, I had Tucker Kraft on my bench, but that's because I started Cade Otton this week.
Yeah.
So.
And we're going to get to Cade in a little while.
Yep.
Next up, we've got Amari Cooper, minus 9.12, 1 catch, 2 targets, 3 yards.
That's just bad. I mean, that
unless he's drawing the coverage.
Yeah, but you kind of wonder what kind, Amari Cooper could have had the Cedric Tillman stat line this week if he was still, in Cleveland. But, and that's the thing with the Bills, and that was what killed me. I believe that was last season with Stephon Diggs, was they switched to the new OC, and they're like, all right, we're just going to run the ball a bunch.
Well, and Shakir had 100 yards
he did,
receiving.
Yes, yeah. So that one, and Shakir's been kind of, when he's been healthy, he's been kind of the safety blanket.
And I think Dawson Knox had a touchdown reception, and
so did Kincaid, didn't he?
Did they have 4 touchdowns? Because
maybe not.
What's his face had? Cook had 2.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I know Dawson. I'm almost positive Knox had one. So
yeah, but yeah, so that one, that could be 2. He's still. I mean, it's only been 2 weeks with the team.
Right. And again, if he's drawing the coverage,
but
because
2 targets is you gotta feed. You gotta feed him.
I mean, it's like
get him the ball.
Right. It's like when CeeDee Lamb comes out or Justin Jefferson, and you haven't been involving him, and you throw it to him 6 or 7 times in the first quarter.
Like they did against the Rams, with Justin Jefferson.
Right.
Yeah.
And then he ends up with a paltry 115 yards or whatever. Last on our list is Caleb Williams, minus 9 points, 10 receptions, or 10 completions on 24 targets, 24 passes, 131 yards, 10 rushes for 41. That kind of made up for it. They were horrible in the first 3 quarters. Mm-hmm. He was horrible in the first 3 quarters. He seemed to catch fire and made some good passes, but still some of his passes were, he made one to Keenan Allen that was, a yard behind him while he's running. He reached back and tried to make the catch. You got to be closer than that. Yep. And which is interesting because he had been doing so well for like 4 or 5 weeks, and all of a sudden he just laid an egg.
Yeah, I mean, that was a pretty high-profile game, obviously. You had the number 1 and the number 2 picks in the draft playing, so... And I'm going to give credit to Washington's defense. They've been improving pretty much every week.
Agreed.
I actually picked them up. I have Denver's defense as my main, but I believe they're playing Baltimore this week.
Yeah.
And then I think it's Kansas City the next week. So, yeah. So I actually picked up Washington this week as a streamer. They're playing against the Giants. So we'll see what happens. But like I said, I got to give a little credit to the Washington defense. They've been playing pretty well.
Yeah.
They were a defense coming in that you would target because everybody assumed they'd be one of the worst, but they've actually been pretty solid. So, yeah.
Moving on to our waiver wire. I'm going to start off with Cade Otton. Mentioned him last week.
If he's somehow not on a roster, go get him.
Here's the sad thing.
Yeah.
Here is the sad thing. I drafted Cade Otton with, I believe, my last pick. I had Dalton Schultz. Carolina's running back that was injured.
Jonathan Stewart.
Yep.
Jonathan
Stewart. That's not right.
Oh my God, Jonathan Brooks.
Jonathan Stewart used to be there
back for
quite a few years ago.
Brooks.
Brooks. So I needed to pick him up. I think that was what happened, or maybe it was when No, it wasn't when Aubrey was out because that was just a week. So I dropped Kate Otten and kept
Somebody.
Dalton Schultz.
Yeah.
And of course, someone picked up Kate Otten, and he's got Kate Otten and Komet in the 16-team league, and I'm gonna make a play for Zach Ertz. And
I've been playing Zach Ertz.
yeah, he's available, so I'm gonna make a play for Ertz, which I probably should have done. And
he's got a pretty safe floor. The ceiling isn't there.
Right.
He would have had a good game. I think it was this week he had a touchdown, but when he came down, it hit the ground and it shifted, and so it was one of those where it was like almost a touchdown but not. So he would have had a really, really good game, but he still ended up having a decent game. So I want to hold on to Dalton Schultz for one more week because with Stephon Diggs out, he may actually see some action. But he may not. The process is right, but the result is
I know.
Be wrong.
It's like they say, keep banging your head against the wall because when you stop, it'll feel good.
Yeah. Exactly.
So at some point, I might stop, and I might actually stop having that headache.
Yeah.
So next up, we've got Cedric Tillman.
Yeah. Again, if he wasn't picked up at the end of last week, I don't think he was in my 16-team league. Yeah.
I know he wasn't in my 8-team league.
Yeah.
And in our 10-team league, did I draft him or did I just pick him up?
I don't remember. Because is he a rookie this year?
Yeah.
Or this is his second year?
I don't recall.
Yeah. I feel like maybe this is his second year.
Maybe it is.
But
it is. And then I would have drafted him somewhere last year.
Yep. So, again, like we talked about earlier, I think he really fits the Jameis let it fly, kind of play that Jameis likes to do. So, I think Tillman's going to be, he's got to be the number one waiver wire target out there. He's going to be people dumping a lot of fab into him if they have any left, and so
if you use fab in Yahoo?
Not in the Yahoo league, no. Yep.
That's just
that's right. You don't like that one because you can.
I really don't. I really don't. Next up, we've got Josh Downs.
Yeah, with Joe Flacco starting this week. Downs had Anthony Richardson only completed, what was it, like 12 passes or something like that?
Probably.
He was he was bad. It was like 12 of like 30 something that I don't even remember exactly what it was, but Richardson was horrible.
Yeah.
And Downs had a huge game, so Downs is he's their best receiving option, and you get Flacco in there who pretty much every game is thrown for either 300 yards and like 2 touchdowns, or he's thrown for like 250 and 3 touchdowns, and Jonathan Taylor looked really good this week too. So I think Flacco, if the Colts, depends on what they want to do with that team.
What has happened to Pittman though?
Yeah, he's just kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
I don't know what has happened there. Again, with Flacco, he'll probably have a decent week this week, but that's the thing with Richardson is he likes to throw those deep shots, and his middle of the field accuracy is not quite there, and that's where Pittman plays a lot, is kind of middle of the field. So I think that's why he's basically disappeared whenever Richardson's been there, because Pittman's had a game here and there.
Yeah,
it's been with Flacco. So again, if Flacco's in there, I think Downs, you could start him this week for sure, and I think you could start him anyways, even if Richardson is in there, because he does, if they do connect on that big bomb, you just got to hope that they connect on it. But,
right. Last one, Adam Troutman. If you're hurting for tight ends.
Yeah. Would he end up having like 80 yards or something? Or was it 80? Or
I don't recall.
Like 4 for something.
He had good numbers.
Yeah.
I noticed him on the, points above what was expected, and it's when you've got tight ends that and this past week was National Tight End Weekend, tight end day, and tight ends had more touchdowns or receptions,
17 touchdowns this week
than
which they've
ever
been
before.
like 7.
Yeah, than ever before, I think. And, so this was a good week for tight ends, but we've seen such up and down play by the majority of them that if you can find one,
yeah, it does seem
ride 'em.
it does seem to be evening out a little bit. Obviously, like McBride had he had a lot of receiving yards this week.
Kelsey caught his first touchdown.
Yep, Andrews, knock on wood, it's been 3 consecutive weeks with a touchdown. Laporta, he had the receiving touchdown from David Montgomery of all people, but the Lions they're just doing whatever they want.
Yeah.
But so it does seem to be evening out a little. It's coming back to the norm a little bit. So hopefully that trend continues, because the first part of the season was really rough.
Yep, agreed. Well, that's all we've got for this week. Hopefully you take the opportunity to listen or watch. Otherwise, I'm Ozzy.
I'm Austin.
Have a great week.
See ya.